All right, so by the title of the video, you guys can probably already guess what this video is going to be about. And so yeah, I think Odin is the traitor. Now I will admit this theory of mine is it's a little out there, but definitely has some ground, at least in my opinion. If this ends up being completely wrong, I can totally see that being the case. I mean, we all know how unpredictable the writing can be. But if you're on board with anything I'm gonna say, or have some theories of your own that you want to share, let me know in the comments. Okay, so this is going back to chapter 32. When we see Loki interrogating Buddha about Buddha potentially being the traitor here. And I really want to focus in on this because Buddha, he seems to have no care whatsoever about opposing the gods. This is true, and we've seen it. We see this by how he challenges Loki, but also when he stands up to Zeus himself later on in chapter 34, and he drops that big line, right? The only one on heaven and earth that can move me is me, right? And not only that, but we see Kochiro come back with a huge return that I don't think anyone was expecting. But he also comes out with Okita and Kondo. And all three of them here, they're pretty much just standing with Buddha, almost like it's Team Buddha versus the seven gods of fortune and Loki here. So clearly, you could say on the surface, Buddha doesn't care about any god allies, or at least any allies within the seven gods of fortune and Loki. At a glance, it looks like Loki was right to accuse Buddha of being the traitor, mainly because unlike any of the other gods we've seen till now, Buddha is the only one siding with humanity here, seeing how it looks like by Kojiro, Okita, and Kondo in the way that they try to protect him. But I don't think this confrontation was all that simple, because this only starts happening because Loki is the one who instigates the fight, right? When we see him waiting by that fountain and starts questioning Buddha if he has anything to do with the Volans being weapons for humanity's fighters. And then I got to thinking, we've seen this before. Well, when Loki was questioning Heracles before his fight against Jack. And unlike Buddha, Herc was just way more transparent, right? Because when Buddha is questioned by Loki, he doesn't give him any real answer to his questions. He just tells him he isn't listening, right? And that he basically doesn't care. Unlike Heracles, who tells him flat out what his intentions are about saving humanity, right? And representing the gods in a fair fight. And, with him being so honest, you can see Loki felt there was no real reason to question him any more than he did. He kind of just gives up and looks disappointed by the end of it. And it's even more suspicious because the first question Loki asks Heracles about his relationship is with the Valks. And so this is Loki's second interrogation attempt, and it's now on Buddha, where he again initiates the questioning about the Valkyries. It's important to also point out Loki is a Norse god. Okay, but hangs out a lot with Hermes, Ares, and Zeus, who are all Greek gods, by the way. So it begs the question, well, why isn't he hanging out with Odin or Thor, right? I mean, it would just make sense, I feel, unless there's some hidden motive Loki has here that we're just unaware of. And I think that's the case. I think that Loki is actually a spy for Odin, who is trying to find some scapegoat to call the real traitor. Because let's think about this. If any god is going to betray the gods, right, and side with the humans, the most likely candidate is a demigod like Heracles, who is half god, half human, because of, their potential bias towards humanity, maybe, going as far as maybe even hurting the gods in any way to make them lose. I think Loki suspected that because Heracles was the first demigod to fight, he had to just jump at the chance of Heracles being the perfect scapegoat to draw any attention away from Odin or anyone in the Norse pantheon, so that no one suspects them. But because Hercules was so heroic and honest in his questioning, it just didn't work out for Loki the way he thought, which is why he questions Buddha, I feel. Another demigod who, luckily for Loki, is acting really suspicious about being on humanity's side. So when Loki is questioning Buddha in chapter 33, we're randomly introduced to the seven gods of fortune, and this is really random, right? And not only that, but we finally see for the first time who Bishamonten is. And the entire time he's there, he doesn't really say anything else. Actually, I think he doesn't say anything else other than that line, right? Traitors will receive divine punishment or retribution or whatever it is. So this is a really big moment because we're finally seeing Bishamon for the first time, but he's just standing there really ominously letting Ebisu do all the talking, almost like he's just examining what's happening, because he's just standing there with his arms crossed. And what's even more suspicious is he doesn't say a word to Buddha directly. So nothing directly to Buddha where it looks like they're both having a conversation or any confrontation. Okay, so this is where my theory gets a little overboard, but I actually think I don't see a lot of people agreeing with me. That's totally fine, but I'm gonna get into this and why I believe so. But I actually think the scuffle between Ebisu and Buddha is staged. I think it was entirely random for Ebisu to stop Loki from fighting Buddha, because the only reason he does get in the way is because he says, what did he say? He says he was waiting for the day he could finally give punishment to Buddha, which is again just a random excuse, I feel, from Ebisu to instigate a fight here that makes no sense as to why this fight between Buddha and Ebisu is even happening, and just makes me wonder, well, why did Ebisu even show up? Why didn't he already handle this beef before, right? He could have done it off screen. I don't see why it has to be handled now in front of the 6 other gods of fortune, and especially in front of Loki. So is this even a fight that has to happen now? I don't really understand the purpose why Ebisu gets in the way here, unless this was all planned behind the scenes, where I feel Bishamon and Buddha actually allied together without anyone else knowing. I think Ebisu and Buddha only fight to make it look like Buddha is the traitor, when in reality, I think Buddha and the 7 gods of fortune are actually all on the same side. Because when Bishamon says that line, traitors will receive divine punishment, right? He actually says it twice. The first time in chapter 33, and the second time when Zeus and Odin stop the fight in chapter 34. He just looks back and says it the second time, really ominously again, without speaking directly to Buddha, but in the direction of Zeus and Odin. So it makes you wonder, who was he indirectly speaking to? So I think Bishamon is on board with Buddha, who also feels and suspects Loki and Odin are both the real traitors here. We even get a really suspicious shot of Zeus when he looks at Odin and asks him very seriously, this Ragnarok isn't going quite as expected on Norseman, before Odin lets out a really creepy laugh to himself. And I personally think Zeus is catching on. I think Zeus knows that gods like Odin, you know, the ones that are really greedy and powerful and full of pride, would jump at the chance to take the throne from Zeus if they could, especially now that the Greeks already lost Poseidon and Heracles. Meanwhile, Odin, he's sitting pretty high and mighty, still after Thor won his round against Lubu in round 1 earlier. So ultimately, the Greeks are smaller in power. This is a fact. And I think Zeus knows that gods like Odin may want to steal the throne. And this could be why he didn't send Apollo out to avenge Heracles in the same way he sent Heracles to avenge Poseidon. Because in my opinion, I don't think he could have risked losing a 3rd member of his pantheon now that he suspects Odin is looking at the throne. Because remember, it's Zeus that stops Shiva from fighting in round 4 because he wanted to avenge Poseidon. But when round 5 comes along and Heracles is defeated, he doesn't comment on that at all. So this is the ideal time for Odin to make his move. And I think Buddha and Bishamon are catching on. I think I wouldn't say Buddha is a full-on traitor for siding with the humans, but I think this is why exactly Kojiro comes back. I don't think I was the only one who was completely surprised when Kojiro returned in chapter 33. It was so unexpected, and it makes you wonder if there's a lot more to this story than just the tournament, right? Because why else is Kojiro returning if he isn't going to fight a second time? It makes me wonder if we'll see more of Jack, because I really think that there's going to be a full battle outside of the tournament where it'll be gods versus humans, and there might be some gods on the human side, like we're already seeing with Buddha, or vice versa, some humans on the god side, right? I think that's entirely possible because we're already seeing some stuff happen behind the scenes, but I could be completely wrong. This is an entire theory for another day, but again, I definitely see Kojiro returning for a specific reason that Buddha called him for. Whew, okay, that's all from me, guys. Let me know what you guys think, if you agreed or disagreed. I know there's a lot of theory crafters in the community, so let me know if this is something you're feeling. I would say my favorite part about all this is where Bishamon fits, just because he looks really mysterious. So I really wonder what's going on through his head, what his storyline is going to be, and how he's going to fit into all this. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it. But that's all from me. If you guys liked the video, please leave a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want to see more, please consider subscribing. That's all from me, guys, and have a great day.